Welcome back to Bass Capital Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Lara Wallace, and today I'm here with Shelley Schenker. I'm so proud of myself because as we were talking about it, I did not think I was going to nail that. I felt it like
you did a great job.
Great job. Thank you. And I'm super excited. It could be the artsy fartsy gal in me. It could just be your fabulous outfit that I just dig all of it. Like you came in bright and shiny, and I love it. But before we get to talk about the fabulous art topic at hand, let's talk about how'd you end up in Putnam County?
The pivotal question that everybody always asks, how'd you end up here? So when COVID closed down my business in North Carolina, I decided I wanted to go home to Florida. So that's partly a financial decision for tax reasons, and partly a decision that I have a brother and a couple of little nephews up in Jacksonville. So I wanted to be closer so I could participate in whatever that might be. And then I wanted to be on the water, but I did not want to pay or could I afford oceanfront property. So I started looking on the St. Johns River. And I posted myself a little bit further down at Renegades on the river.
Oh,
and
dude, they have a great vibe down there.
They do, and it was very alluring, and kind of sucked us in. We looked as far south as Lake Monroe, which is Orlando.
Yeah.
And then as far north as Federal Point, because once you get north of that, you're starting to get into Jacksonville prices again. And I fell in love with a property on the shores of East Palatka. And it was a piece of raw land. I was buying a swamp, and literally my realtor and I were having to look at it from the next door neighbor's house. Like, oh, look, I think it goes way back there. But I fell in love with it and I bought it, and I have been like teaching myself to live sustainably a little bit along the way, but I've had to clear it, mow it. I've bought a tractor.
You went full force.
I did. And I've learned the ups and terrible downs of chickens and, and now,
awesome.
Yeah, it's been fun, but it has been quite the challenge.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many people have a similar story to that. They've looked around, but we had a real estate agent, Thomas Rayberg from St. Augustine, come on. And one of the things that the reasons I invited him on is he was talking about the differences between living in St. Augustine and Putnam County or Palatka, and the cost differences, but the beauty that you still get here. It was a very wonderful cover because, people have not said such wonderful things. They don't look at the river as an asset. They don't look at our cost of living as an asset, or the pace of life, or the things that you can learn when you come here.
Well, that first weekend we were here, we rented a boat and got on the actual river. And I was in the middle of the St. Johns River and thinking to myself, I've been a world traveler. I've been around the world and paid, thousands of dollars, gone all the way to the other side of the world, South America, Papua New Guinea, and been in rivers. I've been in the Amazon River and had that same feeling here. And I'm like, it is an asset. And if people, I'm fine if not too many people find it, to be honest, because the more people find it, the more they ruin it. But it is.
Melrose told me that. They were like, we want you to cover us, but don't tell everybody.
Right. No, and I listen to some of the old timers around here who talk about how the fishing was different back in the day, and how different, there's a lot of things that they say, well, back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm here new, and I still see the beauty in it. So I'm not comparing it to what had been. I'm comparing it to what it is now, and it is beautiful, and I love it. So I got on the east side of the river, so that means I have the sunset view, which I've always wanted in all my life, just like to be able to go out on my property, and I have to die for sunsets.
I feel like I'm going to have to just come over and you have to prove that to me.
Okay.
Actually, no, I live in East Palatka, and I am one road over from riverfront property. And it's still just like we walk around the neighborhood a lot at night. And to be able to do that, at 10, 11, 12 o'clock with zero concern It's just amazing. And we're close enough to the bridge that the bats are all flying around. And then the sunset. Oh, love it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So tell me, as far as the art scene is concerned, did you come here and like, oh, now I'm an artist? Is that what you did before?
So the last time I made a big move when I left Florida,
Mhm.
17 years ago, and went to Asheville, North Carolina, the pinnacle of where artists are born.
Oh, I learned
they're
something
all
new
they're all
today.
hatched there.
Okay.
And I moved there with little boys and a baby and a husband and all the stuff. And when people would ask me there, I just said, no, I'm an artist. I called myself an artist. I went after that title and went through all of the variations of, yes, I just do it out of my basement. I go to all the little white tent festivals and sell. And then it was, oh, there's this place called the River Arts District. It was a whole district, a mile long, and over 500 artists in that mile. So I got a
Wow.
little studio space, and it kept going till I had an actual building, and I had 60 artists in my gallery at that point. And so coming here, yeah, I call myself an artist, but a lot of people around here don't really understand what that concept is. And I wasn't sure if I would find places to display my art here. I started out in doing stuff in St. Augustine, which is luckily just a hop, skip, and a jump away from here.
Right.
Very convenient, but that doesn't always pan out. That monetarily didn't pan out. And then this group like hatched here. And it wasn't just new people. It was actually people who've been in this community and worked in the arts in this community for a long time. And I found out about it on Facebook. Like an artist had posted, hey, we're starting up this group. And it was just like a year ago they started having those conversations.
Right.
And they started having they're in a little storefront here. They had a sign up sheet. Oh, get your name on. And everybody I had met and that had talked about art or said they were an artist or played around with, when can you call yourself an artist? I would text them, call them or whatever. I said, hey, you need to get your name on this list. And before you knew it, like within a month, we had over 60 people on that list.
That's wild.
It was really crazy and it was really fun. We had an angel landlord then who said, I have this empty building. If you want to do stuff, display stuff, you can do it. And we started putting shows together. And then we started getting together and saying, wouldn't it be great if we, took those empty storefronts down on the 200 block and filled them with art? And so people made calls and they said, sure, we'd love that. So, while we're not quite under construction, we're waiting for permits or whatever. We just commandeered those windows and
you killed it.
I was like, I was totally relentless with those people, the realtor and the developers. I'm like, okay, thanks for this one, but we really want this other one over here that has like 3 windows and sunlight. And they're like, really? You have that much art? I said, I will get the art. And that's what happened. We had 4 storefronts that we commandeered and had a display and an exhibit in.
And you guys are continuing that, right?
There was we had a lot of rain at one point, like flooding type rain. And one of the buildings right in the center had the center of the roof have an issue. And my name was on the window saying, if you wanted to buy art in the exhibit, give me a call. So the sheriff's department calls me and said, you're the only number on any of these windows. And we've got a river of water coming out of one of these stores. And so I was the contact. I called the realtor. I called the developers and said, we got a problem.
Right.
And, with art, you just don't take it.
You don't
take chances with that moisture. So the next morning at 10, all the art was gone out of those windows. We came in like little bees. We took it all down and took it out because we don't want to risk anybody's art.
Sure.
So.
Well, I want to get back on a few things you touched on. Number one, so we were having the conversation coming up here about like when I said, I'd like to consider myself an artist, but I don't know if I'm using that term appropriately. Do I have a studio at home? Yes. Like I have an easel and I have an ungodly amount of paints and brushes and pens. Oh, I have so many
You
pens.
you definitely qualify. I'm sorry. It's
I have
like you don't even have
so
you could have
many
a kitchen
pens.
table and still consider
Um,
yourself an artist.
and I have canvases of all sizes, but I don't just like to play with that. I, like to play with rehabbing something old and turning it into something new, projects, whatever. But I think like I just knew from birth, like I just like to make things.
Right.
And or play music, that's another way. Was that something that for you, this is just what you've always done? Like,
So, like you, I've always been artsy, and always, gone to extremes in the aesthetic of whatever it was, whether it was baking and decorating cakes for the kids' birthdays, which,
oh yeah,
were elaborate, and the board that it presented on was everything became elaborate
yes,
and became a visual thing. And I think that, you know, there was this one time. Here's how it started.
okay,
So my kids were my two boys. I have three total, but I started with 2. 10 years later, we went with the boy, with the girl. But when the boys were young, they were in private schools. Private schools a lot of times will raise money through auctions, and they have those pivotal little kids projects. Like the 4th grade took part in this art project.
right.
And because I was artsy, I was volunteered or voluntold to do.
Voluntold a
Yep.
lot.
So I was in charge of a couple of those. And the one year was my middle son. We did a project in his 4th grade class with recycled mat. I was like, where can we get like basically free materials and do something really cool? So we did these projects that were made out of recycled magazines, and they were amazing when they were done. Now I might have color corrected like a couple little pieces. We were tearing these pieces into,
Right.
I told them to go home and get the blues and the purples and the yellows and the gold. They brought all the right colors and they did all the collecting, tore them into little pieces, and we had them in piles as though they were a painter's palette.
Right.
And they had I had drawn out a big giant like coloring book page on
Right.
2 by 3 foot pieces. And they turned out so amazing that there was an auction fight, how those,
Yeah.
war, and they
Yeah.
went for like $8,000. They were amazing. But because there was a lot of disappointment for the people who didn't get them, we created another auction item, which was for the silent auction, if you bid on this one, I would come to your house, work with your kid or a birthday party, and we would do one for you. Then there was another school that asked for the same thing. So like within the period of a couple of months, I had done there were 3 panels for the first project. So I had done like 7 of these projects.
Wow.
And they were I was getting really good at it after that.
Right.
And then my parents were coming to an event, and a landmark birthday was coming up for my dad, and they had redone the house, and we were having a lot of company in, and they had in the middle of this beautiful wall this terrible print that I hated. And it was the pivotal piece in their display on this wall. And this is what I said to my mom. I said, Mom, can I take that down and give you something better in that space? Like, I just want to make something really special for Dad. So
whether you wanted to,
I was just, I could not live with this like horrid piece of art that she probably got at Goodwill or whatever. But I literally drew on top of it. There was no way it was going back on the wall the way she had originally put it up there.
I'm working on a piece like that right now.
You'd
be shocked what you can do.
Yeah. I mean, and with my medium where you're like gluing on top of, it was perfect because nothing bled through. It just became something that it was not. And I presented it to my dad with a lot of friends around. And a friend of mine came to me and she said, I had no idea you were so talented. You could do that. Like you could do that for your living. Not that I had to make a living. Right. I had a rich husband.
Right. You did it right, girl.
But what happened in that moment was the light bulb went off, and I was like, wow, because I kept looking at it going, wow, that's,
Go me.
Yeah. Exactly. I was like,
I did
damn,
that. I
I'm
know.
good. So I just
Oh
started like
man.
that's where my journey started. I started looking into where there was, some charity something or other, and I created my first table. It's so funny because when you first start, you're like so excited. I have pictures at the first show that I was in, which was for the American Lung Association. It took place at like the Polo Club, International Polo Club in Palm Beach, and it was cool. But I didn't have displays. Like I had to work with my dad on making easels, and
Right.
I probably had 10 or 15 pieces that I had like done. I was like pushing myself. I'm gonna do more pieces, more pieces, and I had like a table with the little ruffle around it and stuff. There are pictures that we have. My kids. I was pregnant at the time with my youngest, my husband, my parents, my in-laws, my grandmother, we all came to this event because it was like my first ever show to put
Right.
together. And I was so like proud of myself of these pieces and stuff. I don't
Right.
even know if I sold anything, but it was just like and that is a pivotal moment. You go, I remember that was when it was a gear had shifted.
Right.
I'd gotten my education. I had a bachelor's degree. I had a master's degree. And I'm like, no, fuck it. I'm just going to be an artist.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Sorry, I probably shouldn't say bad
no,
words,
no,
but
you're good. Absolutely. No, we're not censoring just honesty here. So a couple things came to mind. There's an art piece. Now, granted, I will never be painting over it after I finally asked in my grandmother's house. And for generations, this art piece has been traumatizing her children and grandchildren
oh no.
and great grandchildren. It's this clown, but it's so sad. And it just like it's a sad clown. And she had other like decanters up there that or clown. So I thought maybe it was like this thing. But I just never wanted to be around the clown.
It's
And like every time I walked by it, I was like, makes me not feel good. And then I was talking to the kids about it very recently. And they were like, "Oh, that ugly clown picture." And I said, "Oh, you too." They're like, that thing scares us every time we went to Lala's." And I was like, "Okay." So I finally, because I'm doing history now, asked her, like, "Why clowns?" She's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, why did you choose that art piece, that clown?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, I didn't choose that. It was mailed to me. My great great grandfather, my great grandfather painted it." So now I have a whole new appreciation for the clown. But if I could have painted it over something,
what would be
it
interesting
would have been
would
the
be to find
clown.
out what was going on in his life
Yeah.
when he painted that
Yeah.
particular clown. Who knows? He may have painted 100 clowns. Were they all that morose? I mean,
Yeah.
art has gut reactions with people.
Oh yeah. There's an art piece. My second youngest daughter is very naturally gifted in art. She will probably never watch this episode, and they tell me not to talk about them, but I'm doing it. She did this piece. Um, they always want my canvas, and sometimes I'm just like, you're gonna paint like for 5 seconds and you're not gonna put any thought into it, and then I'm gonna have to paint over it or hoard a piece of canvas and I'm gonna have to start fresh on it. But she wanted a big piece, and I was like, fine, fine, take it. And she comes out with this woman just very lowered postured, almost it reminds me of like a Mother Mary type figure,
Mm-hmm.
or a lowly nun type figure. And she decided at the last minute she was going to drip this like red where it looks almost like blood pouring down. But afterward, I looked at it, I was like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "I am, but I see why you asked me that." But everyone who walks into our house that sees that picture um, has concern over her, and she's like, "It's just what I felt." And maybe it was the music at the time that she was listening to.
Right.
Maybe it was an emotion she didn't know how to handle,
Right.
and it came out on that because she felt fine afterward. But that guttural reaction,
Yeah.
when you see things, and I've seen art pieces that I have like sobbed over for no good reason. Like I can't tell you why.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So I was at my opening that I had this last week. I was describing
The Gathering Artists of Putnam. I don't know that I've said that out loud yet. that
Okay.
either of us have. So we've done an interview with Evelyn Snyder about the Gathering Artists of
Right.
Putnam, the lifelong resident
Right.
in the art scene. But if we haven't said where your
Where my stuff is, yeah.
she's down at the Gathering Artists of Putnam. Shame on me. What is the new address now?
712
Thank you.
St. John's Avenue.
Thank you. So anyway, I digress. I just need to make sure our viewers is
Right.
they're like getting.
And so Evelyn was our first featured artist when we got into the new place. Like we have a kind of an overarching show, and then every other month we try to rotate in a featured artist. We will leave the main show up, but then like take a section and blow it up with one person. And Evelyn was our first one, and I was the second person. So my opening was this last Saturday, and I like filled the wall literally from the ground, from the floor to the ceiling. And I decided out of all the, I usually do animals, and I have a lot of frogs, a lot of sea creatures, and a lot of birds.
I love your sea creatures and birds. I've seen them many a times.
So the birds have a special story. Most of the ones on that wall are from a year that I set aside, a whole year, to prove to myself that I could be a professional artist. Now you can call yourself an artist at any point,
right?
But when you say you're a professional artist, like you're really trying to make a living on that, that's a different kind of tactic or a different level.
Right.
And I was in the,
like my bills require me to be that's terrifying, by the way.
It's that mark. And I was surrounded at the time with people who were doing it. They had their gallery rent and they had their home bills and they were doing it on their art, which I thought is crazy. And there's a book out there called Starving to Successful: How to Become a Professional Artist. And I bought it and I read it and I put it away because I thought, oh heck no, that's not, I'm like, I didn't feel like I was up to the challenge. And the reason why was, when you are a professional artist, you putting your stuff in galleries and they are selling your work for you, taking a huge commission. Most galleries take like 50%. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous.
That's why everything's so expensive.
Yeah, that's why art is expensive, because you have to pay for the lights in the gallery and the people in the gallery, the sale, and all kinds of stuff.
A $20 pack of lights that make things look real nice right now. I'll put a link below. Go ahead.
So that when you have gallery representation,
right,
you have to, if the gallery says, I just sold your piece here, I need another piece today. You have to have inventory. You can't say, oh, well, okay, let me think about what I'm going to paint and, do another piece. You have to have inventory waiting to rotate back on that wall. And so the book writer, Jason Horges is his name. And he recommended that you have an average of 52 pieces a year, which is a piece a week.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why I put the book away and said, not for me.
Yes.
But
we're getting on the same piece that was already, the framework was there for the last 2 months. I
have pieces that may have been in process for years, actually, some of them.
Yeah.
But at one point in my life, I decided, you know what? I'm just as good as that person over there who's killing it, who's making a living. He's just got a different mindset.
Right.
So I set aside, I made a plan. Make a list. I made a plan. I themed the year. I put together a blog so that every week I posted the picture of the new piece that had been finished. Accountability. I created that for myself. I had to streamline my process so that I don't use canvases, but I used boards. And so that the boards were ready, that there was a theme. So because a lot of times half the process is, oh, I wonder what I want to paint now. Like for me, if it's animals, oh, maybe it's a mammal. Oh, maybe it's a fish. You could go down into that spiral for a long, long time.
Yes.
So I was like, I took a lot of that out. I went for birds. I called it the year of the fowl mood. And it was barnyard fowl and peafowl and waterfowl and anything that could be called fowl.
Right.
I was fair game. And a lot of times
that was a joke, in case you didn't know.
It was a joke, but it was my reality.
Yes, but that was a good joke.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of chickens, and I did research, and I, had picked out.
There's some really stunning chickens.
There,
I'm not gonna lie.
yes, you are correct, and I was just enamored with them. During the year, my daughter, who was really young at the time, we got chickens. I did research, so the smallest and the largest chickens in the world both originate in Malaysia. The largest is as tall as you and I.
Right.
And the smallest is called a cerama. It's the size of a parrot, like a green parrot that could sit on your window.
Oh.
And there were local cerama chicken breeders, and we went and we got I was gonna just get a baby for me. Like if I'm gonna do chickens all year long, I'm gonna learn everything about the I'm gonna
be one with
commune with the chicken.
Exactly.
But my daughter was like, no, I want one too. And then my son, just because he was being a goofball, says, well, if Samantha's getting one, I'm gonna get one too. So we ended up with 3 chickens. They all turned out to be roosters, which was we were in an HOA. So I went to a flea market and literally just had a box that said free chickens for 2 of them. And the only one who was like totally enamored and connected with her little rooster was my daughter. So we kept that one.
Right.
And it wasn't like breed wise, it wasn't the most valuable, but it was the most loved.
Yeah.
So we kept her little rooster. His name was Midnight, and he was so spoiled. But like the whole thing, like it just like. I
reminds me of what you were saying with your boys' cakes when they were younger, like everything from the board to the icing. Like
yes,
you get bigger.
Multiple levels of art, and that's what I. When I go away and I go to like museums or recently was at a small town whose entirety of the town has been revived by an art competition that they do. In Lake City, South Carolina, look it up. It's called Art Fields, and we're
gonna drop links below for everything we talked about.
It's fantastic. They've really revived a much smaller city than Palatka in their town, and but they do a regional call for art in Southeast America, and it's a send your best because they have big cash awards. We're
gonna do that here.
We're working on it.
Okay.
But when you go to see art like that it's thought provoking. It's you walk in, you don't just have that, oh, I'm scared of the clown. You have that, oh my God.
What emotion?
You look at it, you start to look at some of the installations, and you just like, this artist had something to say, some message to get across that is going to affect you. But that little town, 52 venues, the barbershop, the real estate office, the restaurants become the display, the exhibition.
I love that. I have often thought about how cool it would be. And I think I was talking to Evelyn about this, about obviously some places bar humidity and the elements.
Mm-hmm.
Every place downtown could have one place in the window.
Yeah.
What better way to unify the community?
Well, even Grand Rapids, Michigan, they do one called Art Prize. It's a national, I don't think it's international. I think it's national. Huge competition. People make their travel arrangements, go get hotels in Lake City. There have been hotels built because they have this need to house people when they come in for this art competition.
Amazing.
So I'm putting my feelers out. I'm starting to throw those seeds out and see what takes.
You got a lot of foul jokes in here tonight, just today. Do you think that you'll always stick with animals? Has that always been your... I suck at people.
Me too.
I have tried. I've done the circles with the lines, the grids, the shapes. I've got the little guy where you pose them.
Yeah.
I suck at people.
It's, yeah, people are like something I'm afraid of. There's another artist
Same.
out there, and I'm not going to.
Literally and figuratively.
There's a guy out there who does a similar style as mine, where it's recycled papers into
Mhm.
his, I think he always, I can't remember his name, but I'm pretty sure he uses mailers, like, marketing mailers.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he has a tagline that says no magazines were maimed in the making of this art, and mine's the opposite. Mine's like all magazines.
Right.
um but he does amazing people, amazing. He has one piece where a kid is blowing bubbles, and like think about that, because now you have to have the translucency of the bubble
Right.
and how that affects.
Reflection.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to say that I was talented enough to do people. And I had a guy, I had a guy come up to me one time, and I have done commissions in the past. He says, "Oh, do you do like team mascots?" And in my head, I'm thinking Miami Dolphins, Gators. Like, I'm thinking of all the animals that would be a
Right.
team mascot. And I was like, sure. So he pays me to do a commission piece for him and sends me the picture I'm to base this piece off of. Is a picture of him with his daughter in his arms and a team mascot. Brutus the Buckeye, in the crazy
Yeah.
furry suit. Brutus, Ohio State or
Yeah, yeah,
University
yeah.
of Ohio, I don't know, OU. And I was like, oh. So I have done people, not my forte, as you say. Is like, whoa, that I don't know.
No, I like abstract. I like flowers, anything
Well, see,
outdoorsy.
in my medium, flowers. I have done one flower. Was a painted bunting on a big sunflower, and I was like, oh, never again.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, God is an amazing artist, and when you use your eyes to see a flower, the different shades that it has, the white that turns into dark pink,
Right.
like all of those iterations that blend.
Right.
Wow, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And you want to get all of that depth. Paint, I think that you could start to blend things a lot,
Right.
but
Paper.
yeah, you can't blend it. I mean,
Right.
yeah, it's a trick of the eye when you look at my pieces. A lot of people don't even realize that they're pieces of little paper that are all layered on top of each other and stuff. And I've had people ask me these questions of, oh, what do you go and buy like 100 of the same magazine so you have that same color over and over again? And I have worked really hard to, first of all, cultivate a stack of a file of colors,
Right.
So I go through a magazine like nobody does. Like,
Right.
I go through and I go, oh, that's a really cool green. That's amazing texture. That's a brown.
You have no
I
idea
don't-
what the articles are.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
palettes.
Like maybe might be a recipe I'll save,
Right.
but with Pinterest, who needs to do that now, right?
Exactly.
So I tear it up like, this is a great color, this is a great texture, this is a great color. I put them all aside. Then on a different day, because I couldn't do it all in one day, I take that big pile of random stuff, and I have hanging files or sometimes boxes, because they've outgrown the files,
Right.
of blues, of greens. Then it'll be, there's the sky blues, and there's the water blues,
Right.
and there's the dark greens, there's the greenery, like the Better Homes and Gardens, where it's all different, which I love. And when I do a piece, I have to mix all that together. So when you look at it, it looks like it's one color, but it's
Right.
totally not. It's made with like 100 different variations of a color
Right.
into that piece. So,
We'll have to be sure that we'll drop some of your images below,
yeah.
so people can visualize what you're talking about. I've been fortunate enough to see some of your work and just have been blown away by it. Now, do you still have pieces in the studio that they could go look at?
At 712?
Yes.
Yes. Right now, which is in September. We're in September. I'm the featured artist. So I have a full wall. Like when you walk in the door, you're going to see my stuff. It's right there for you. And hopefully, I'll be in, at least have one piece in every show. That's not for sure.
Right.
Because we're theming the shows. The Gathering Artists of Putnam is theming shows through the time that we've agreed to stay in this building. We
Right.
have themes for our shows already. There's historical perspectives. There's, what else do we have? We're doing a small work show in November, so that as a hope, the idea is you have smaller pieces, they have smaller price points. So as we get to the Christmas season, you'll be able to come in and buy
Brilliant.
something.
Yeah.
It's a challenge for a lot of people. We have some artists in that group that love big abstract and they're like, they feel like they're banging their head against the wall. Like, I can't do anything small. And we're like,
Right.
so take a piece and take an older piece and tear it apart and,
Right.
like just take a corner of it because your colors are so amazing.
Vibrant, yeah.
Yeah. So, but we have, we're doing one show called Fabulous Fakes where we get to pick some famous artists like Picasso or Renoir and try to do a piece in that style or a piece that they've done and see if we can copy it, which is kind of, yeah, it's very fun. We have one show we're doing, which is going to be collaboratives, so that we're working with other artists.
I love that.
Which the group is so cool. And as we are learning more about each other, we're totally feeding off each other's happy vibes and like expanding upon it and being each other's really amazing cheerleaders. So as a new person in town, that's really important. And we have
they cheer you on hardcore, just so you know.
Well, we have a lot of people. We have people like Evelyn, who's been here, from the get-go.
Right.
And she's our go-to person for who do we see about this? Does Palatka have some, whatever. Right. She knows all the people and all the places. It's really amazing. And she has boundless energy for it still. So I'm really excited that she started this and she's been so amazing. But we have new people here who've been here for me, a couple of years or maybe just 6 or 7 years, and they still feel new. I'm like, you're here for, you're an old timer now.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is a lot of fun. And we've had people come to our events and they're like, well, in the old days, we used to bring stuff for they might not even be part of our group, but they're going to come. We used to be asked to bring like a dish for your opening. Do you want us to bring a dish? And I'm like, they would ask the attendees to bring dishes, I'm like, sure, bring whatever, like whatever makes you feel like welcome and invited.
Right.
So I'm a little OCD. So for my opening, I was like, please don't bring a dish. Mm-hmm. Like I have it all planned out.
Right. I love that.
But bring wine if you want to bring wine or beer.
BYOB,
yeah.
Not your BYOD. BYOB. I love that. And I love that we, again, do have a place for artists to gather and to collaborate and to grow and to stay connected and share their passions and learn from one another. And 52 pieces, ma'am. I'm still just brooding on, I would love to do something collaborative like that. Not that I have a whole lot of time, maybe when the kids are older. This is my art right now.
It is.
I love what I'm making. Back to, as we talk about, pieces and cultivation and community, one of the things that you were talking about was the year of the foul mood, and we were talking about emotions, and I'm sure that as an artist alone there's a lot of emotions, and having a tribe to like be there for you is exceptionally helpful to like process all those frustrations of.
Well, it's so funny because if you're just artsy or an artist and you have a bad week, mm-hmm. you put your stuff aside and you might not even do art that week, which is happening with me now. Like I haven't done art in a long time. But in that year where it was one piece a week, I couldn't stop.
Right.
Like I gotta do a piece. I gotta put it up. I'm accountable for that. And so there was a week in the middle of that year where shit hit the fan. And so, I would lose sleep and be really aggravated about it. But what happened was I did a piece that reflected that. And it's a Polish hen, which has, craziness going on. And it's in the middle of like going, ah.
Yeah.
And it's called What the Cluck. That was the piece that was happening that week. My
Right.
world was going crazy. And the next week, when kind of the dust had settled and I was very comfortable in the way I presented myself, even though it wasn't I was against the grain. There was a piece that was of that bird I told you is the largest kind of chicken in the world, and it's a diptych, which means it's two pieces that make one piece, and it's really tall, and it's called standing tall. So those pieces, it's funny. So if you ever go to any gallery and you say, why does this artist value their art so high? Why is it so expensive? And I can tell you that if you go to my wall, it's because I really don't really want to get rid of that piece.
Right.
Like those two pieces are in this show and you can see them there, but you could buy it from me if you really love it as much as I do, but it's going to cost you. And so you'll see pieces that reflect, maybe it is smaller than some of the bigger pieces, but it's way more
That
expensive.
makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Because, I think from someone who curates art pieces, not to go in a show, but for their home, right?
Right.
There are pieces that I know that I have, that I've done, that I don't want to get rid of.
Right.
Like, I don't want to sell that. But if I were to show it and somebody was like, hey, yo, I'll give you 20,000 for it, I'd be like, I can part with that.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I would think about that piece, often.
Yes.
And there may be that, daggum it, I shouldn't have done that. But that makes sense. Where sometimes you're going to see these pieces with the intent of being the starving artist,
Right. Right. And there are pieces on that wall right now that, have been completely discounted. I don't have a connection with them, but
Right.
any of the pieces that I have a serious personal connection with is going to be valued higher.
Right.
It's not by square inch. It's
Right.
not by the time it takes. It's by how emotionally connected am I to that piece of work.
Would you say it's the same for every artist?
I have the luxury of not having to live off of my art yet. So at the moment it's for me, and I don't know, like you said, if you were desperate for the money and somebody was paying you, you might just take the money.
Right.
And then I think some people don't put a lot of emotion into their pieces. Like I said, there's a lot of pieces up there I'm not emotionally attached to. And sometimes when you're emotional, you step away, when actually you're probably going to do your best work when you're emotional like that, when you're upset about something, or suddenly calm about it, or happy about something. So,
Or proud. I love that.
or proud. Yeah.
Well, speaking of artwork, let's talk about what's coming up.
Yes. So I'm very excited. I happen to be the curator or co-curator for this next exhibit. It is a juried art show, which means that we have a judge and jury. We have a judge who's coming through and looking at where everybody in the group is asked to bring their best piece out. And there's no theme to it. It's whatever you think is your best work, bring it to us. And it's one piece only, whereas a lot of times we can have more than one piece.
Yes.
Is you bring us your best. Our judge is an original Palatkin. I think that's how you say it. He's from Palatka.
Palatakian, some people say.
Okay.
I wasn't from Palatka. I lived in South Putnam. So I've heard some, what was it, a Melrosian? Was it? I don't know. I've heard some interesting
Palatkite. I don't really. So he's originally from he's originally from Palatka. His name is Mark Parrish, and he attended classes at Flow Arts. He has a BFA. He has an MFA, a Master's in Fine Arts. So he is schooled in art and structure and all of the wonderful things that come.
All the things that stress me out.
All the things. But he now lives in, I'm thinking, Ormond Beach, or one of those beaches down there. And he has his own gallery, but his gallery is also in part of his tattoo studio. So he's, he has the classical stuff and he has the edgy stuff. He's like, to me, he's like
name again?
Mark Parrish.
Mark Parrish.
Yeah. And I've said that name to some people and they're like, oh yeah, I know Mark.
Salty Parrot, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really excited
That's
about him agreeing to
cool.
come and be that person for us. So, and everybody's going to bring out their best. Hopefully we won't bruise too many egos, because we have a best in show award. We have
I feel like if you enter, you cannot go in there
with
the ego.
But artists are notorious for egos. So that's
Maybe
where
I'm
that's
not
how we
truly an artist.
no, it's pretty, yeah. Artists have egos, and I am including myself in that. So, but it's we have
maybe professional artists. Maybe that's
where the distinguishing
exactly.
But we have best of show, first place, second place, 3 honorable mentions, and then we have a people's choice. So we will have the show up as of Thursday of that week, which is the second week of October. The opening will be the second Saturday. We have all of our events on second Saturdays.
Right.
Second Saturday. Yes. Second Saturdays. Don't forget. And so that, I believe, is October 12th. And up until the award ceremony, you can come and vote on a piece. You just go through and you figure out what is your favorite piece. We'll be counting up all of the little votes.
So hang on, let me make sure I understand.
Yes.
So I can go down there and
then vote.
Some egos.
Yeah.
So what date is it open to? Because I know you have your opening is the second Saturday. Is that officially when it will be
That's
open?
When we have our event in the evening. We have our wine and cheese and the snacky
Which
poos.
is really nice. And you guys should go. I really enjoyed that.
And the award ceremony will be that evening.
Okay. And then we could
5
go
to 8.
5 to 8. And we could go as early as what date to start?
Thursday afternoon you'll be able to come in as of Thursday afternoon. We're open till 5, like come from noon to 5.
Okay.
And then it'll be open on Friday, 10 to 5. And then on Saturday we open at 10. So any of those days to come in and vote for your favorite. We have sponsors. We have amazing sponsorship dollars who came in. Some of them you hold true and dear to your heart, angels in this community that come out, and so we have some nice prize money that we're giving away with these awards.
I love
and I'm very excited for that, because starving artists is so sad to me, and we have some in our community. In our group, we actually have scholarships. If you can't get the annual membership to become part, we have scholarship dollars that we put towards your membership so that we can include as many people as we can.
I love that.
So
that's great. Well, I think that's amazing. I'm excited about going down there. I love that idea. I love that you're incorporating the edgier side to your judging.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty darn cool. And I think anybody who's interested in connecting and being part of Gathering Artists of Putnam really needs to reach out, because you guys are a wonderful group, and I am fortunate enough to have had the opportunity to connected with y'all, and I'm just thankful that you and I are sitting here and talking about your art. And again, all the links will be below. You want to go check out what Ms. Shelley's doing, if you want to go check out the new exhibit. But I suggest you go and let's grow this thing, because I'd like to enter this and see artwork all through Putnam County.
Yeah.
It'd be amazing.
The more galleries, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And the more wine and cheese.
There you go.
Just saying.
There's the wine stroll coming up too.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
It's gonna be great. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. Be sure you also check out the interview with Miss Evelyn Snyder if you want to get a little bit of history on the Gathering Artists of Putnam. But until the next episode, we will see you guys later.